Thank you, people. Uh, I'll be MC the second part of the program again. Do we have any visitors first time here tonight? Okay, so you know the drill and toilets and escape routes and everything. I'll call upon Jane now to introduce the program.
Good evening, everybody. I hate daylight saving. This evening we're welcoming back Mike Browne from England. He has received all the photos that you put in for the challenge and has had a look at them and is going to just give us some feedback on them this evening. So let's put our hands together and welcome him back.
Hi guys, give us a wave. This is amazing because I can see you this time. I'm not just on my own. Look at you lot. So I'm guessing you can see me on your screen at the moment, yeah? Okay, so what I need to do then is to share my screen. I guess that's the present now button. Yeah, it is. Share entire screen. Here we go. So you can see what I'm looking at. Right. It is that one, I believe. Yes, it is. Good. You can all see that, yeah? Can someone just say yes, because now I can't see you.
Yes.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jane. I just want to say I was blown away because there's some seriously good, I mean, brilliant photography that you put in for the challenge. And I mean, the challenge was to make an image that moves, touches, and inspires you. And, you know, I totally get that. And if you guys shot these since we last met, I'm blown away by what you have created and what you've come up with. Pretty awesome. Okay, so the key is I'm going to give you a little bit of feedback on what I feel, see, think when I see the image. Does that mean the image is better than another image or whatever? No, it's just my feedback. Okay, I've been doing it for a long time and I've been judging competitions, some of them international competitions, whatever. This isn't a competition. This was a challenge, which is a different thing. But yeah, it's just my thoughts and my opinions. So, can everyone see the pictures?
Yes.
We do.
Brilliant. So, Jude Foster, I wish I can't actually see you whilst I'm doing this, which is a shame. I don't think I can. Let me just try something. Forgive me. Move that over there. No, I can't actually see you whilst I'm doing this. But that's a shame. Never mind. It doesn't matter. It's great to see you because I know who I'm talking to. I totally get this, you know. Moved, touched, and inspired, you know, by that family connection, by that little bit of, you know, father and child thing that's going on here. I love the empty space. It helps to emphasize that relationship that's going on between these two people. The use of the reflection. The light is great. I love that sort of backlight coming in as well. The fact that their faces are in shade doesn't matter at all. And it puts a nice even light on their faces, as I'm sure most of you know, because there's a lot of very accomplished photographers going on in here. Yeah, I love it. I think it's a cracking picture and it's delightful to see you moved, touched and inspired. Is Jude in the room?
No, not tonight.
Right, okay. It's just been intriguing just to find out who these people are, what they mean to Jude. It just kind of enriches the whole thing. Awesome image. It's just simple and it works. Ian Walls, I really love this too. You know, my thing, what I like most with photography is storytelling. And this is a great photojournalistic documentary type story and image. There is an RDA equestrian centre not very far from where I live, and they do some amazing work. I have a couple of friends who are involved with it as well as volunteers and whatever. And I think you've caught a magic moment here, Ian. I love that interaction with the girl leading the pony and the little kid on the top, because I know what good work this is, and I know what great therapy RDA is. The way you put the image together, I think, just works. We've got the RDA sign in the background. We know what it's about. We know what's happening here. It's just out of focus enough that it's not intruding. The light is really nice. And I mean, the light is what it is when you're working in these sorts of situations. But for me, the key is catching just the right moment. You can clearly see that that girl is moved, touched, and inspired by doing what she is doing in helping these kids. I think it totally fulfills the brief. And I love it. I just like it. It's a picture which tells a story, as many of these images that you have come up with do. Yeah, great picture. Totally different kind of an energy going on here, isn't there, from Kelly? You know, I mean, I don't know. Has everyone in the room seen these images before? Have you shared them amongst yourselves?
No.
Okay, so this is first time, right? I'll let you take a moment to digest what you're looking at as well. So somebody here, Kelly, is obviously moved, touched, and inspired, you know, by bike packing, by going out, getting into the countryside with some mates and doing stuff. There's a lot of energy going on in this image. The GoPro and all that stuff, you know, here's what we were doing. How could it be improved? Well, you know, I don't mind the fact that the faces are a little cut off. I'd love to see the person on the right of the screen just a little bit more, because there's such high energy going on, you know, in those expressions. But it's still a cracking picture. I also like the use of the black and white. It's a good contrasty black and white. And I just think the black and white works. I'm not sure, but I think a color version, it might detract from the energy that these people are portraying. Personally, I like black and white. Not everybody does, I get it. But I do think black and white is great for portraying energy and emotion. I know we all think of it as being great for texture and form. I think it's great as well when there are human beings involved. It's a great picture. It's obviously a selfie, not an easy thing to achieve, but it is a great moment. Jukang K. Ku, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, Ju. But it's an interesting image. It kind of stopped me dead in my tracks for a moment. Sorry, what was that, Jane?
Didn't say anything, but JK said that's correct.
Oh, right. Okay. Thank you. It's interesting. It certainly caught my attention. And of course, to begin with, I was thinking, what is going on? Is that superimposed? Is that something, you know, but of course it isn't. It's just where we got that incredibly bright light going on around that caterpillar or whatever within the parade. It's a great energy thing. And I totally get your celebration caption, which goes with the image. Could it be improved? In my opinion, yeah, I think it could do with just a little bit more exposure. Now, maybe one of the things, of course, you're trying to avoid is the burnt out highlight, which is running all around that, I don't know what the word is, dragon, whatever, you know, insect creature, which is being used in the parade. Thing is, some highlights do burn out. If you look at the sun, it's burnt out. I mean, with your eyes, not in a photograph. And I don't think it would have mattered. In fact, I think if you'd almost increased the exposure a little bit, so we could see a little bit more of the fun in the faces, particularly the little guy in the front holding up the dragon head, I think it would have helped. Really difficult thing to photograph and to make work. I don't know whether this was shot as a RAW or a JPEG, but a little bit of post-production may have helped to lift the shadows. It's a good energy picture. I like the composition. I like the way it sort of flows. And I really like the light on the bottom of the dragon, which is running across the top up through this area here. But yeah, so that would be my feedback. I think cameras are really easily confused. If there's something really bright going on, like these lights and obviously whatever light is going on around this thing here, it can make the camera underexpose. Something to watch out for, of course, is spot metering. I don't know, some people love it, some people hate it. It is, of course, super accurate, but if you happen to get it on something bright, it will underexpose the whole image. It's another level of thinking. You know, where do I put the spot? Because I've got to think, I want to represent, therefore I must meter from that area, and that area may not be the subject. Just a thought, it's a possibility the spot may have been on one of those lights or possibly on this bright area here and it underexposed the image. It may not, I could be completely wrong. Of course, there are so many possibilities. But it's a great high energy image. Child's Play. Duke again, probably at the same event. For me, this one didn't quite work. Forgive me, but it just didn't. I love the fact the kids are playing, but I don't really get play in the expression. I know she's got that kind of mesmerized look where she's waving the bubble thing, which I guess that's what it is, backwards and forwards. You know, you're obviously an accomplished photographer because you know how to, you know, freeze motion and blur motion. And I'm guessing there could be a little bit of fill-in flash going on. I'm not sure. Can't really see, don't see a catch light in the eye, possibly from a fill-in flash. But for me, it's the moment, which isn't quite right. I think on the previous image, I love the moment because I like this little kid down here. I love his expression, even though it's a bit dark. But I just feel the excitement's missing. But I do get it could be something that moves, touches, and inspires you, as in children playing and having fun. I often look at kids when they're playing and just think, yeah, I remember doing stuff like that, you know, it's absolutely great. Crab spider on a Tatarian cephalaria. Okay. Great little macro close-up thing going on here, Alan. It's very, very well executed. To get that level of depth of field isn't easy when you're shooting a macro in this close, unless, of course, this is some crazy New Zealand plant and spider, which is actually much bigger than I'm imagining it. You know, when we're getting close to something with a macro lens, of course, our depth of field shrinks, it becomes tiny. Whether this is focus stacked or not, I don't know, doesn't matter. It's a really nice image, and I like the way, you know, you've got the position of the spider, the light is working beautifully, and all the colors work. It's nice and soft and gentle. We've got all those lovely greens going on with that one sort of orangey red tone, and of course they are best friends. Very nicely done. This one got me Jan Bogue. Disconnection. What a fantastic title for this image, and what a great way to represent it. I myself, you know, find it deeply frustrating the way so many people, and I don't just mean the youngsters, I'm talking about people coming up to my age, spend their lives staring at a screen instead of hoovering in that wonderful world around us that we live in, which of course the old lady is doing. She's looking around, taking it in, maybe listening to the sounds, maybe smelling the air. Meanwhile, the young girl is kind of lost in looking at other people doing other things, which I think is kind of sad. However, I do love the fact that young girl is got a camera on her lap with that gorilla pod, because then it gets me to question my interpretation of the image. Is she using an app on her phone just to download images or to control the camera? Is she setting something up on that camera, you know, so that she can put it out there on the tripod, use a remote on the phone in order to capture some wildlife? It's making me question my own thoughts about the image, because of course we all have our own interpretation the minute we look at something. But yeah, overall, I do get that disconnection thing. And yeah, I feel quite touched by that. Something I do find with the young generation these days, though, is they are far more open to talking to us oldies than I think I and my mates were when I was that age. Does seem to be more of an openness. Once you can break that level of uncertainty, which of course youngsters often have, I find they can be really engaging, interesting, and I've had some fantastic conversations. But to the photograph, how could it be improved? There's not much I can say, really. I mean, what I'm looking at on my screen, of course, it could be different to your screen. Maybe just a touch more exposure, but I've always kind of liked bright images. Not everyone does. A very good photographer friend of mine, German, she's in Germany. She likes things much darker. Nothing wrong with that. But I think it's a great little moment. And I love your thinking behind this disconnection thing. Carl Smith, downtime. You like downtime. You move touched and inspired by downtime. Aren't we all? I recently lost a friend, someone who I've known since I was 16, died very unexpectedly. And it just suddenly made me think, go and take some downtime. Which I've booked a whole bunch of time off. I'm off to go and do stuff and go visit people that are important to me. Downtime is important. So your image, great picture of the dog. So my feedback on this would be, I'm not sure about the light. It looks to me like it was probably done with a flash, possibly on camera. It's a little bit sort of harsh and direct, and I'm not sure it's doing the dog any favors. It'd be nice to have some shadows possibly coming in from the side if the flash was off camera. The other thing is tilt the camera up just a little bit. When we look at the world, we see things in the middle, particularly eyes. You know, notice the eyes are pretty much in the middle of the frame. When I look at any one of you lovely people or this dog, we tend to look in their eyes, and our brain filters out everything that's going on around it. But of course, the camera can't do that. I don't think we need quite so much of the sofa or the cushion or whatever the dog's lying on at the bottom. And it'd be nice to see the dog not cropped off at the top. Either that or kind of take some of the bottom off. I often do this hold my hand up thing and just sort of do things like that. And I feel it's improved with a bit of the bottom off. But it's the light to me. The light is quite harsh and direct. It'd be lovely if it was like coming from a window, a bit of sunshine coming from an angle, possibly slightly behind. I think it would improve it quite a lot. Someone likes a bit of kayaking or canoeing or whatever these things are. I think they're kayaks, aren't they? I can understand why you'd be inspired by it and you get excited by it. Neroli Keating. For me, as like an image to create, again, I'm afraid it's not quite working. It's like, oh, there's my friends in the water and I've taken a picture of them. Please don't be offended by anything. I'm just giving my feedback coming from that space of photographer. I think possibly it's the use of space. Maybe if the boats were in opposite corners, if we had the red one more down here and the blue one over to the right, that may have helped a little, because we'd have a little bit of a diagonal sort of connection between the two. The other thing which I think would help would be if there was a moment between the people. think when there's people in an image, it's quite important to try and get some sort of connection. If there's two people, get a connection between them, or a bifurcation of concentration like we have here. Whereas I don't know who these people are. Are they connected? Are they having fun? Are they united in their passion, excitement for the kayaking? The thing I do like, of course, is blue and red. They work really well together. I think maybe a little more space and possibly shot a moment later when these kayaks are further apart would have helped a lot. But the key thing to me would be something, one of them looking at the other and laughing or shouting something or going, "Look out," or something like that. Great title, Janine. Earth's masterpiece, inspired, moved, touched by nature. And I totally get it. I'm always saying this wonderful world in which we live, because I do think it is spectacular. I've never been to New Zealand. Annoyingly, I've been to Australia about 3 or 4 times, and each time I say I must go across to New Zealand, and I haven't got there yet. Actually,
Time
yet.
you did.
Pardon?
I said it's time you did.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. A couple of friends of mine went motorcycling in New Zealand, both North and South Islands. They just said it was absolutely spectacular. You know, having seen pictures and all that stuff. Also, of course, somehow Poms and Kiwis seem to get on, and, you know, we have a similar shared sense of humour, I think, which, much as I love the Aussies, and I like their sense of humour, I don't know, I always found that the Kiwis and the Poms somehow connected. Lovely, lovely piece of landscape, and I do like the use of, you know, blue and white. That's about all that's going on here. Some blues and some white. Even the blacks are blue. There's that blue, cold, frosty, snowy winter thing going on. Yeah, I don't know what more I can say. The only thing I would go with in this one is possibly, I like the lightness. I should say possibly darken it a bit. Again, I don't know if there's post-production going on in here. There are some very, very dark shadows. At least that's what I'm seeing on my screen. Of course, they're all different. And this is where monitor calibration can come in. If everybody has a calibrated monitor, then we know that everybody who's looking at our picture is seeing the same thing we are. We're seeing what you have created. But of course, it's a whole other level of messing about and pain, which digital photography brought us. I love your composition. I like the way everything is set together. The mountains are holding everything together. My only possibleness, a tiny little thing, is, I don't know, I'd be tempted to take this mountain here and just sort of take the crop up through there. So it's coming through sort of the middle of this mountain, so it matches what's happening on the left. It's just that perfect symmetry, broken by the way nature sort of goes on in the middle. But it's a lovely shot. Enthusiastic enjoyment. Who can't be moved, touched, and inspired by that? And I do totally get the delight on this little kid's face. I don't mind the yellow color cast either. It's got a warm sort of a glow, and it's also telling us a little bit subconsciously, I think, about where we are. I don't know, it's an airport, but we know we're somewhere indoors. There is that sense of going somewhere because of the rucksack and the coat and the little cardboard thing that the pastry was in. Some great catch lights in our eyes. And we've all seen kids, you know, they're taking a bite and they're looking elsewhere because there's lots to take in, excitement going on. I'm not convinced by the vignette going on around the edge. It's quite a hard vignette, you know, it sort of runs from here out. And I don't think it's helping. I think it's possibly distracting a little bit. Now, I totally get the use of that, because you're probably thinking, let's kind of try and remove some of the distractions. Sorry, Jane, were you trying to say something?
No. No,
Oh,
no,
sorry.
nobody was saying anything here.
It's like an echo, and there's a delay. I heard somebody saying something or whatever. Forgive me.
Andrew's
Yeah.
fixing it.
Sorry, say again.
Andrew's fixing it.
Sorry, Jane, saying that I didn't catch what you said.
Andrew is fixing it.
Hello?
You've muted him.
Hello?
It's all right. Andrew was fixing it, but he muted you and muted me instead.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I'm not getting a loop of me. That's fine. I just heard someone speak. I thought you were talking to me. Yeah, I'm not sure the vignette is helping. In fact, might even be interesting to give it a bit more space. Now, I know there's the danger of the distraction, but it would probably tell us a little bit more about airport because we've got hints of luggage going on in the background. Sometimes it's good to include the location a little more, possibly use a slightly shallow depth of field to break it up, as we've seen in some of the previous images. But yeah, it's a great moment, and who isn't excited, moved and inspired by kids enjoying a pastry? Fat Freddy's Drop Concert by Helly Haybrittle. Photographed a few bands in my time. They're not easy. I think you've got a powerful moment here. You know, all singers and musicians are passionate and excited about their subject, about what they do, you know, about music, and you can see it in this guy's face. I quite like, there's a sort of softness to it. It's not a high contrast thing. And I quite like that. And I think it works so well, you know, with the, what's it called? Dry ice mist stuff that is blowing around in order to pick out the spotlights. How could it be improved? For me, it's just, it needs to be tight on the guy, but I just feel a little bit more room to the right would help. Maybe, you know, a little bit room either side, because, you know, he's part of the band. He's so dominant in the image. He's beautifully backlit. You've got the exposure bang on. We can see his face. We've got that great expression. Possibly just a little bit more space going on out to the right of the image. That's the guy who's singing's left. I just feel he's a little bit tight, a little bit trapped in a box. But yeah, nonetheless, I know how hard it is to shoot these things. And you have caught a great moment in some great light, and I think you've treated it very well. Finding My Art, Adrienne Gentleman. What a great name, Adrienne Gentleman. You've got a beautiful set of colors going on here. So I'm not quite sure what it is that you're moved, touched, and inspired by. Is it the art, or is it, I guess, nature? What I get when I look at this is grasses blowing in the wind. Is it grasses blowing in the wind? I don't know. But this really nicely put together. The exposure's great. We've got that, I'm guessing it's movement blur, whether it's ICM or whether it's something moving, intentional camera movement, or whether it's something naturally moving in the environment. I tend towards the latter because it doesn't appear to be moving in the background. It appears that these are grasses sort of blowing in the wind. That's what I get from it. Could be completely wrong. Might be water. I don't know. But it's great use of color. The colors all work beautifully together. And also, I think it's great use of composition, because I love this diagonal line. Everything is all running in one direction. We haven't got a collision going on here with things all going one way. So whether it's the nature or the art that you're inspired by, I don't know that. Doesn't really matter. I still think it's a great image, well executed. Totally get this one. Focus by Desmond Nagu. This guy's focused, isn't he? There's no question about that. There is a very powerful dynamic going on here. Very often the light in these halls is so hard to work with in a sports stadium. But someone who I've been doing private coaching with, he's in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. He was saying about, he discovered the right little pools of light on the edge of where the, you know, the lighting in these stadiums are. And it looks to me like you've absolutely nailed it. Look at the definition in this guy's muscles. You've got exactly the right moment. He's just holding that ball, you know, bouncing, 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 waiting. Which way are we going to go? How much of a threat is this guy to me? There's such a strong dynamic here. He is analyzing him, and he is waiting for him to break out. Totally get it. There's a lot of power in there. It's a great moment. It's very well caught, and not necessarily the easiest of situations to photograph in. Yeah, you move, touched, and inspired by the focus of sports people. It tells a great story, I think. As does this from Dennis Chang. I think this is just moving in and of itself, titled Frail. We've all seen this. We've all experienced this with loved ones. And I think you've told a great story without being at all obvious. We know that there's a walker or a little wheelie table there and an elderly person. And I just find it a moving image. What more can I say? I am moved by it. I'm touched by it. You got some nice light. It must be coming from a window. The way the light is coming towards the camera, this little shadow falling in our direction and off the foot here, the way it's just picking up on the edges of the blanket. If we didn't have these little highlights, these little bits of rim light that are going around the edges of the frame of this walker, it would somehow lose, I think, some of its energy. Obviously shot at a pretty high ISO. I'm guessing it wasn't very bright in there. Either that or it's been cropped a lot, but you know, I'm not complaining. I'm never really worried too much about a little bit of grain and noise in a picture. It's the story the picture tells that's important. If it's well executed, well exposed, well handled. I think the square crop works very well on this too, because it sort of juxtaposes the circular shape of the wheels here. How could it be improved? I haven't really got a comment to add. I think it stands quite powerfully on its own and says what it needs to say. I think it is a moving picture. Huh. Here's a moving picture. This guy's going for it, isn't he? Go, Jack, Go by John Hawkins. There's a lot of energy going on here. You know, I love this guy. He's obviously delighted that he's out in front. I like the look on his face. It's a shame he's not quite sharp, but, you know, difficult thing to do, to follow. And who do you choose to get in focus? Can you get a fast enough shutter speed at a smaller aperture in order to get a little bit more depth of field? Modern cameras, of course, are brilliant. I don't know what it was shot on. Because, you know, you can say, right, track this guy's eyes and it will hold them in focus. Then you can play with apertures and to get a little bit more depth of field or whatever. There's a lot of energy going on here. A school sports day. I'm guessing Jack is possibly a son or a relative or whatever. I think it can be made a little bit more powerful just with a very slight crop. And I took the liberty of doing that. I hope you can see the difference. So this lady here with the blue jeans, I find to be a bit distracting. And because she's not engaged, she's looking the other way, drinking a coffee or something. And we've got a similar thing going on at the other end. For me, the powerful part of this, the bit which is exciting, if you like, is this guy. It's about this guy and him cheering on his friend or shouting abuse at his enemy, don't know which. But look at all these little faces. They're all like really excited. They are gunning for this guy. Look at it all. And I just think when you go in just a touch tighter, suddenly the image becomes more, he becomes the focus. Here we're not quite sure what it is. Let's have a look. Boom. I just find now it just helps to empower this guy. And what I'm going to take is his support for his friend over here. This one's trying so hard and everyone's doing the cheering on. Yeah, that's about all I have to add on that, but yeah, totally get it. Haircut under the shades, Desmond Ngu. I spent quite a bit of time in Vietnam and I never quite know how to pronounce this NGU sort of sound, but I love it. I just love it. For me, all the elements just work. There are so many great things for me about this. There's a lot of dynamism given by the surroundings. Look at these roofs coming in. They meet right where this guy, the guy doing the shaving or hair cutting, they help to bring the picture together into here. The bicycle plays a very powerful supporting role. It's just coming in like this. These timbers, everything is leading us to where the action is happening. They're in a great little pool of light. I sense possibly a little bit of post-production work, but it's sensitively handled. And I think it helps to bring about the message. I love the moment. We've got this interaction between the two. They are sharing a joke. Something is going on between them and they're sharing it. Everything going on around this image is supporting these two. Nothing is cut off. Nothing is sort of cropped in an uncomfortable place. It's like if the picture was coming just through the corner of that box or just missing the front of that bicycle wheel, just cutting it down through there, it would totally spoil it. It would jar. But everything is beautifully balanced. This space along the bottom. And shooting it from low down with a very wide angle lens, I don't know how wide this is, but it is a wide angle lens, gives it that sense of space and dynamism and intimacy. You know, we're there, we're sitting on the floor with these guys, enjoying the joke in a great location. I really like it a lot. And a lot of photography, of course, is about thinking, how do I use these ingredients? You're like a chef cooking an image. You look around and go, right, how can I use these roofs? How can I use the bicycle, the box? We've got to look at everything and then think, how could I use these? What is the image I want to make? And then you can work backwards from there with which lens will help with that, which focal length, where do I need to be? What angle do I need to hold the camera at? And then once we've been through all that stuff, well, then you can think about the exposure. But it's outside the camera where the magic happens and the capture just happens inside. Love that. A Happy Companion by Timothy Gostomski. It is a happy companion, isn't it? There's things I like and things that I find uncomfortable, which could improve it for me. I think it is much too tightly cropped in onto the dog. That dog's got a great happy expression. And if man's best friend is a dog, then Timothy's companion is, of course, this fella. There's a great catchlight going on in the eyes, which helps sort of that dog out, the dog's head out the car window. We've all seen it. Dogs love doing it, don't they? As do little kids, many. I feel we need some space. The poor dog can't breathe. For me, it's trapped in a box a little bit. Would love to sort of see a little bit more, particularly out to the right. Where's the car going? What is the dog looking at? What is the dog excited about? Why is its tail inside the car banging backwards and forwards like crazy? Because it's having a great time. Yeah, I just think a little bit more space could have helped. And it would help the viewer understand a little bit more about where are we? You know, what is it that's inspiring that dog to have a happy expression and look out the car window? Holly by Penny Kennedy. Move Hudson inspired by Holly. So I'm guessing Holly could be a relative, a daughter, a sister, I don't know. There is obviously a connection. We can see that in Holly's face. Holly is not uncomfortable having that photograph taken. Look at her eyes, look at her expression. She's kind of having fun here. I know I'm a negative space junkie. I like to see space, but I think it's the same thing here. Because the background is these sort of grasses, you could have afforded to give Holly a little bit more space. Now I know the shot is about her face and her expression. That's what you're bringing to life here, and it's a great expression. Perfect light for that expression, nice and soft and gentle. Great catch light in the eyes because she's looking up at the sky. But you could have used that background because she wouldn't be lost in that background. It's not the sort of a... Sorry, say again. Hello, was someone...
No one said anything.
Okay, I think I'm suddenly getting feedback loop on my voice for some unknown reason.
Maybe.
Oh, well, let's see what happens. Yeah, she's got that wonderful background, which I think could be used to emphasize. It'd be nice just to sort of see the shoulders. Maybe it's a selfie. I've just had that thought. I'm looking at the position of the arms. I don't know. Can't be a selfie because it's from Penny Kennedy.
Yeah, no,
this
it's
is
not
Holly.
a selfie.
Sorry, say again.
It's not a selfie.
It's not a selfie. Yeah, I think you've got that great background. Make a bit more use of it because it will help emphasize Holly. An ICM LS Fantasy from Timothy Gostomski. So I think we saw another Gostomski earlier, didn't we? Yes, we did. Or is it the same? Same person. You allow multiple entries. Sorry, Timothy, I don't quite get this one. I can see you've got some ICM, or is it called the Adamski effect or something like that? I'm getting, we're in a forest, but I'm getting an abstract, but I find this very bright area a little distracting. I get it. It's an arty interpretation, and of course, with anything creative, it's subjective as to whether one person likes it or not. I just feel the contrast between the bright and the darker areas don't quite work, even though you've got some really quite nice colours going on with the greens and the blacks and the browns of the image, but I'm not quite getting the move. I'm not being moved, touched, and inspired by it. I guess that's all I can say, really. Sorry, my friend. Oh, look. That's a very exciting image, Jane.
Thank you very much.
And
I had fun.
yeah, I'm sure. I'm intrigued as to what it is and how on earth you achieved it. But
Okay.
no, don't go there. Don't go there because then it would be unfair on others. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Well, maybe we should. Maybe we should, because it is an opportunity actually for you to explain what you did. Let me talk about what I like, and then you tell us how you did it. I like the symmetry. There's some great symmetry and some great colours. You know, look at the spheres and all that, and the way these are sitting proudly in the middle. We get that feeling of they've come from somewhere. They're racing through space. That's what I get from this. It's like Star Trek when they go into warp drive. But what it is and how it was achieved, I don't know. And what moved, touched, and inspired you about it? Do tell us, Jane.
Okay, it's 5 lens balls sitting on a mirror. And then I have a light tube which I was wiping up and down the mirror above them. And then I turned it upside down.
Sorry, what? I missed. I'm sorry, it broke up. It's 5 what?
Lens balls, you know, crystal balls.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I have a light tube with which has got a holographic lining to it. So there's a torch in the light in the tube, and I've slid it up and down the mirror above the balls, and then flicked the whole thing upside down because I just like having fun.
That is such amazing creative thinking. It's like, what I love about that is it just shows you can look at some stuff you've got and think, okay, so what can I do with this? I wonder what would happen if. Were you going, I wonder what would happen if, or were you thinking, I know what would work?
No, I've done it before, so I was just playing.
Oh, gotcha. But the fact you've done it before is the fact that somehow you got the idea, maybe saw it on YouTube or online and thought you'd give it a lash, or you thought it up yourself. But it's great thinking, you know, let's move a light wand or whatever it was called over the top of those things. You got them sat on a mirror and then you inverted it.
Yeah,
It works.
it does.
It totally works. I love it. How did you achieve the highlight here? Is that something else being held?
No, I think that's just the light coming out of the end of the tube.
Okay.
It's just the way it refracts in the balls.
It's cracking. Love it. How are we doing for time, guys? Because unfortunately, my timer you set me up has disappeared. Now I'm sharing my screen.
We've got another 45 minutes.
Okay, we're about right. We're about halfway through, aren't we?
Yep.
Life's End Journey from Judy Kirk. I completely see where you were trying to go with this, Judy. You know, the beautiful flower and then coming to the end of its life. Yeah, it's a profound statement. And I'm guessing this is a multiple exposure in camera. So congratulations on thinking through a plan and then executing it. For me, it hasn't quite worked that well. And I think the main reason is the water droplets. It's like we've got water droplets and they're stealing the show from what's going on behind. Maybe it could have worked a little more if we'd gone corner to corner, you know, one rather than one on top of the other, possibly separating them. Something else which to me is a little bit confusing. I don't know if anyone else can see it. There is an oval line, and I don't know where it's come from, going all the way around the edge here. Maybe it was a Photoshop crop and it's been dropped in. I don't know, but this white line going all the way around it, it's a shame about that. But I do like your thinking. I do like your idea. Work on it. Have another go with it, because you know you might absolutely nail it if you're in a position to talk to Jane, who's obviously there and is pretty good at coming up with ideas and finding ways to make them work. Have a conversation, see if you can make it work, because that's how we evolve and grow. You know, something doesn't quite work or isn't quite, and I get it, you're probably disappointed hearing me say this because you put this into a challenge thinking I love this. I'm not dissing you on that score in any way at all. I am congratulating you on having an idea and giving it a go. Didn't quite work this time. Evolve it, work on it, keep going. Because the water droplets are stealing the show a little bit. Moonrise, sunset from Penny McCall. Lovely, quiet, peaceful image this is, isn't it? I'd love to know where it is. Is this New Zealand or is this somewhere? I get African savanna. Moved, touched and inspired by, I guess, nature and, you know, the beauty of the world around us. I know I certainly am. It's why I ride a motorcycle. It's not necessarily the speed and the rushing about. What I tend to like is the tumbling along and looking at things and the smells of the hedgerows and the fields and the trees and the forests. And I totally get about being inspired by that. So I'm guessing the sun has set and the moon has risen, and this is where we're getting this lovely warm golden glow from. Quite difficult to achieve that because the moon is so bright. Sometimes it works to do a multiple exposure to get these things to look more as our eye would see them, because, you know, our eyes would be able to see detail on that moon. I'm not saying it's bad, wicked and wrong to burn it out. It's just that our eyes see detail differently to the way cameras do. And a little trick, a professional landscape photographer friend of mine, a guy called Tom Mackey, told me about a lot of his images of this type is he does two exposures. He does the one, in this case, let's say, he would do the one for the tree and the savanna and the grasses and the mountains and the sky. He would then, with the camera on the tripod so nothing's moving, change the exposure and make another for the moon. And then he would bring the two together. He'd take the moon from one and put it into the other. Another little tip he said he uses, I'm not anti post-production, because you know, that what I've just said will make the image look natural, how I see it. Another little tip, if you're into this sort of thing, I can pass on to you, is he said, again, shoot with the camera on a tripod. You take your first exposure for, you know, the tree and all that stuff. Then you do the second exposure for the moon. But when you do the moon exposure, increase the focal length about a third, because it makes the moon bigger. You then take that moon and that little piece of sky and overlay it on this. But it's important not to move the camera. So you have to do the two exposures with the camera locked off the composition on a tripod. One shot for the environment, change the exposure for the moon, and just increase the focal length a bit with the zoom. And then you bring the two together. It makes the moon more dramatic. That's how a lot of them, I think, are probably done. It's not something I'd probably do. I'm not a great one for messing around in Photoshop, but yeah, I get it. You're moved, touched, and inspired by this kind of environment. I like the way you put it together. Let's talk about your picture. It'd be easy to sort of move to the right and take the moon further away, but I rather like the fact you've kept them close and kept that relationship of nature, be it on our planet or circling our planet. I think it would have been confusing had the moon been over here. Very easy to do that, a few paces to the right, and the moon would have come over here. Or been tempted to hide the moon behind the tree, a few paces to the left. I think your positioning and composition is great. Interesting light. And thank you for sharing it. I get you're moved, touched, and inspired by that stuff. Titled Oh by Jan Bogue. This is intriguing, and I think I don't know quite what you're moved, touched, and inspired by in this, possibly the humor, but also I think this is a great demonstration of observation. This is almost like one of those Isha drawings, you know, the never-ending staircase with the ball rolling around it. No matter how much you look at it, you cannot find out how on earth the thing fits together. I like the moment, her sense of humor, she's smiling. It's like she has had a look. It does look like the statue is exposing itself to the girl. But when you then look at it, and this is where the Isha part comes in, the statue is behind her, not beside or in front. And I think it's a great demonstration of playing with scale. You know, this statue is behind her, mounted on the sea wall. But when you first look at it, the statue is right next to her and she's just looking away. I think it's a great observation and a great moment, well captured. So maybe we'll go, it's the humor which moves, touches, and inspires Jan Bogue. Good sense of humor, Jan. Passion for the pounding surf, Neroli Keating. I've only tried to photograph surfers a few times and I find they're awkward beasts. You've caught a great little piece of action there, Neroli. You know, you have caught a great moment. This guy is super concentrating. It looks like he's about to lose it. Don't know if he recovered it or whether that was it, game over. The light isn't being your friend here because he is so dark. It would be great if we saw a bit more of him. Now, whether or not that could be achieved just by increasing exposure, I'm not sure. Because you've got all this white, all these water droplets, which you have very successfully frozen in this spray. But it's kind of like our subject, the surfer, is a bit lost because they are very dark. There's some actually quite nice light on the face. Neroli, I don't know if you shoot RAW, and I'm not a RAW maxi, okay? I'm not a you must shoot RAW, but it can give you advantages, because I reckon you could probably lift the shadows a bit, and then we'd see a little bit more of this surfer's expression as he's trying not to lose it. Post-production isn't a place to fix things that are broken. It's a place to bring things to fruition, because cameras and eyes see light differently. To your eye, you could see his face perfectly and clearly, but when caught in an image, very often the camera loses bits of this. Also, when shooting JPEG, the camera is doing the post-production for you based on its programming and its algorithms. And the poor camera doesn't know. It doesn't know that you can see the face. The camera has to just take an average, figure it out, hand it over to its post-production facility, and then it does the post-production on that RAW file for you. So it's just something that's different, just as it was when we shot on film, you know? The person who printed the picture was the person who had final control over whether your picture was going to be any good or not. But great moment, Neroli. I like your composition. I know that the surf is right in the middle, but for me it kind of works because I like the line of the wave running through the middle. We can feel the swoop coming up from the bottom. And of course, it's a great decisive moment. It's a great little moment. If you get a chance, go back, have another go, see what happens. If you do a bit of post-production, try it. If you don't like doing the post-production, that's cool. You can always adjust post-production inside your camera. Different cameras have different names for it. On my Nikon's, it's called picture control settings. You can tell the camera to lighten shadows or darken highlights and things. So you can sort of take a couple of test shots in these situations, have a look and see what you've got, and then you can then customize it for that situation, and then it will possibly work better. Beautiful piece of light here. Passion's Running High from David Rice. Totally get that. You've used the light really beautifully, and possibly a little bit of dodging and burning post-production to highlight those running shoes. Your passion is running in this stunning scenery. And I'm guessing you're very good at it because of the medal on the rocks. I do like the way you've used light and possibly some gentle post-production to highlight the shoes. And I love those misty mountains going on into the distance and the lake. What does it need? No, this isn't a need thing, by the way. This is just what would I do? It doesn't need anything. And if you love it, it's great. That's all. Somehow, I would like to see more of this lake. Now, that may not be possible because it may stretch off into forever, out the end of my screen and across the room and into the living room. I don't know. But I love that misty sort of a lake. Would it be possible to maybe use a shorter lens? I don't know. This isn't a wide lens, but it's also not a long lens. Possibly use a slightly shorter lens, get a bit closer to the shoes to enhance them, a bit like that lovely picture we had earlier, you know, with the guy having the haircut. Get a little closer using a wider lens, which would give more intimacy with the shoes and the medals, but still possibly include a little bit more of that incredible scenery that you love to run and explore with your trainers. But it's a great idea. And I like the way you've shot it. And you definitely conveyed what moves, touches, and inspires you. Peace from Christine Johannes. Possibly Johannes. Get it? It's certainly peaceful. It's certainly peaceful. We all see these wonderful reflections going on, and it's just one of those lovely things about this wonderful world in which we live, isn't it? I'm not sure, Christine. I think you possibly missed the moment a bit. I know there's that lovely red color, it's like, I think a little bit earlier, we may have seen a little bit more of what's going on in here, because you've got that gorgeous sort of mistiness laying over the top of that house, which we can't quite see very well. Sometimes it's really frustrating, isn't it, with the sunset, because you're there, and particularly when there aren't clouds in the sky, there's nothing going on, and nothing and nothing and nothing. And when the sun goes over the horizon, you might suddenly start to get some color. But unfortunately, then the light levels have gone on the subject within the image. It's one of those really annoying things with landscapes, why, although I shoot a lot of landscapes when I'm leading workshops and things, I wouldn't go out and shoot landscapes on my own, because I'm not patient enough to wait and revisit locations time and again. So for me, it could do with a little bit more light in this area, because I like that little human house there, and I love that mistiness, which could be brought to life a bit more. Your danger of just increasing the exposure here is, of course, you'd lose the colors in the sky. I like the composition with the light coming in from the left. I think it's really kind of clever, because it flows the picture left to right, rather than just going, oh, there's the brightest bit where all the color is, and pointing the camera over there. Nice reflection. And I don't know, I'm going to ask a question here. So Jane, you may need to relay something, because I want you guys to suggest something. I did a little experiment just to see if a crop to take a little bit of the foreground water away would help. And I can't make up my mind. Who likes the crop with a little bit less foreground? Stick your hand up so Jane can have a little look, please. And who likes Christine's original?
More.
More like Christine's original, yeah.
Yep.
And that's a completely fair comment, because I've looked at the two and thought, I don't know, there's things I like about that, but then also I love this deep blue color down here. And I think it's important to remember, sometimes there are images that do that to us. Oh, I don't know, I can't decide, I can't choose. I'm going to rescind what I thought might work better, but I'm not sure that it does, and just go with the majority vote, because these colors down here are great. I almost wonder whether it would have worked to take a little bit off the top. But nonetheless, I get your peacefulness, Christine. Playground Fun from Adrienne Gentleman. Great name. I get your fun aspect totally, Adrienne. You've got beautiful light. Look at this lovely backlight shining in this happy child's face, the rim light coming in around the jumper. You have caught a great expressive moment. All I'm going to say is I'd like to see a little bit more space. And I'm guessing, again, you're worried the background, there's probably other kids running around. There's probably all sorts of bright colors, because we can see that slide. It's pretty sure it's in a playground or something like that. And you didn't want to detract from this happy expression. My feeling is it's just a little bit too tightly cropped, particularly where we're just coming in here on the edge of her jumper. If the gap either side was better, it'd be great. I'd like to see her feet, or possibly take a little bit off the bottom, you know, almost just above the knees there. But it's a great moment. Completely see where you're moved, touched, and inspired by this happy little person with the sun in her hair, having a great time. Perfectly sharp, great use of depth of field. I think you could have probably kept with that depth of field, but just given her a little bit more space. So hard when kids are running around and you're trying to react quickly. I bet you took masses of pictures to get that one. Rejoice from Christine Johannes. It's an interesting subject, Christine. It's a plant of some sort. I don't know what. I'm not an expert with plants. There's some nice light on this. I like the light on these leaves. There's a butt coming. You can feel it, can't you? think you need a little bit more depth of field. This leaf is, you sort of mean the sharpness is trailing off here. I'm not quite getting what you're moved, touched, and inspired by. I understand you're moved, touched, and inspired by this plant and the colors, maybe. I'm a little confused because it's just on a black background, and I don't know, for me, there isn't a context for what's going on. Where is it? Is it laying on something black? Is it growing on something black? Has it been cropped out? I don't know. It leaves me with questions. Forgive me, Christine. It leaves me with questions. You've got some lovely colors and some beautiful light. I like the way you positioned your subject within your frame. But me, I'm a bear of little brain, forgive me. It just leaves me a little confused. What is it you're inspired and excited about? And where is this plant? It's not answering a question for me. Even though you've got a great eye for color and light. And I like the composition, the way it curves on that dark background. I find the dark background a little too much somehow. It sort of, I'm confused. That's all I can say. But yeah, good choices of colors, composition, and light. Roberta by John Thornton. I think this is great fun. It's a great portrait. It's a great portrait. I don't know if this is at a Pride event or something like that. It looks as though it is. But I just think it's fun. I like the expression. This person is, someone is moved, touched, and inspired by the whole Pride thing, you know. We got the rainbow colors. We got this great expression, the look in this person's eyes and the smile. The light is very, very soft. And that means the contrast is quite low. It'd be nice to have a little bit more contrast. And again, I'm going to say I'd like to see just a little bit more. I know it's about the expression, but somehow I just think it might help if there was a bit more. This person looks to me, and I could be wrong, to be holding a parasol, a rainbow parasol. This white thing here looks to be part of a parasol, and that, I think this could be part of it going on around. I think maybe that could have been used a bit more. I could be completely wrong. Maybe there isn't a parasol. I'm making it up. But I just feel maybe a little bit more space and possibly a bit more use of that parasol if there is one. Now, I also get this could be a parade where you're possibly not in a position to start maneuvering people and stopping people in their tracks. But maybe, and I've done this in parades, takes a bit of bottle. You can step into the street, just sort of do a bit of backwards walking to get the angle to line up the shot that you want. Of course, there are many reasons why that may not be possible, but good effort. And I love your moment and what you are saying within the image. Serenading Marilyn, also John Thornton. This, I think, is absolutely cracking. Now, I've just said, give this picture a little bit more space. Now, in this one, you have just caught the top of the hat and you caught the guy's elbow, and we're right through the top of the head of this lady. But in this case, the same thing, but this time it just works. For me, at least. Great decisive moment again, just like with the previous image. Look at that expression. That's a wonderful expression. We don't know who he's looking at. I like the way you caption it, serenading Marilyn, the Marilyn Monroe with the blonde hair thing. We don't know who this person is. But everything is leading to this person. And that to me is what makes it powerful. There is a look of being moved, touched, and inspired in this guy's face. The music, the violin, whoever it is he's playing the violin for, I don't know. But it's all about this person, even though this person is the subject. You've got a strong diagonal dynamic as well, running through the image, the direction of his glance, the place that the violin is pointing to. that gorgeous bit of catchlight going on here in the important part of the violin. To me, it just works. That's all I can say. Yes, I'm a negative space junkie. I always want to know more about what's going on around the place. But in this case, I think you absolutely nailed it. Beautiful light, beautiful competition, perfect exposure, concentrating in, you know, the sharpness in the place that we need to see. Surprise, John Hawkins. Yeah, we got a surprise, all right, didn't we? Well, this little person is. Wonderful moment of surprise. I do not think that could be fabricated. Maybe this girl is a great actress, but that really is surprise to me. That's what I get. And that, of course, is moving, touching, and inspiring. Now, of course, I'm going to go back on so many things. When I say things like give it more space, bring it in tighter, I just feel that in some cases it works to give more space and in some cases less. Remember that very first image of it's what I take to be father and child in the water with their reflection, lots and lots of empty space, but that space was totally empty. This, we've got a great expression, a great moment, but I feel it's, again, it just feels constrained. Let's see a little bit more space, a little bit more of what's around her. Of course, it would be wonderful to have that expression from behind the thing that is creating the surprise. That's not always possible, but great surprise, beautiful catchlight in the eyes, perfect exposure, despite all the brightness and whatever's going on in the background. Beautifully sharp, lovely colors, sensitively handled. A little bit more space, I think. Techno Pash from David Rice. David Rice likes his techno stuff, I guess. It looks to me like a very well executed commercial photograph. Whether this is a real thing or whether it's something you have created from bits of technology that you use or like or possibly work with, I don't know. I like your composition. I think it works. Using all those colored wires, leading us into the chipboard or whatever it is, and the lens. I'm guessing these are things you've assembled to create the picture, the image. I like the way it comes up from the bottom left and exits. It takes a little right turn and then exits from the top right. That is quite clever. That is quite clever. I like the soft shadow going on within the image. Everything is beautifully sharp. We've got a little bit of softness in the foreground, but I think that's okay because it's sort of leading us to darkness where the important stuff begins to happen. I'm not sure your border is helping. I do tend to feel that that detracts a little bit and the drop shadow, but yeah, okay, you're inspired by techno passion. And I think you have captured that in an image. The deep blue, Penny Kennedy. Kind of get it, Penny. There is something very calm about this, isn't there? I don't know about you guys, I am often inspired by calmness. There's that wonderful poem, We Have No Time to Stand and Stare. Don't remember who it's by. And I think we all need more time to stand and stare. These waves are beautiful, and the way the light is just catching them is indeed really rather beautiful. And there's things about it which I kind of like from a disruptive point of view. That is these little ripples, these little pieces of water here, which appear to have sort of broken the calm. We've got all this lovely calm. We've got this little bit of light zigzagging and snaking its way towards us. The fact that the light is coming from in front of the camera is what's putting these wonderful textures and little pools of darker areas onto the water. I think it's quite a good little parody on life. Everything's nice and quiet and calm. There's a song by Bjork, wasn't there? It's oh so quiet, it's oh so still. And then there's another big riot. And that's what I kind of get from this. Maybe I'm talking a load of nonsense, but I think we all interpret things in our own way, which is, of course, one of the beauties. How could it be improved? I don't know. I would imagine you took a lot of images of this particular place. I know I certainly would have done.
She took
This
one.
Oh, did she just take one? Are you there, Penny? Is she?
Yes. I just took one. We were out in a boat and it was very deep. We were miles from shore, cruising around, hunting for large fish. And there was just this quiet moment. And there's something about deep ocean water that is very mesmerising and calming. And that's what I got from it.
Absolutely. I do. I really like it. For me, as I say, it's a little bit of a parody on life. I like the zigzaggy light. There's little light bits. There's little bits of upheaval. It's a shame. I don't know why that bubble's annoying. Can you do anything about it? Probably not. But yeah, I love it. And just listening to you speak there, I get your passion for being out on the water. The Last Goodbye, Dennis Chang. Yeah, I think this one's certainly moving because I don't know where this. I think it's a. I don't know if it's a calf or it's not a goat. I think it's a calf, isn't it?
It's
Are you there,
sheep.
Dennis?
It's a sheep.
It's a sheep. Of course it is. You're in New Zealand. Stupid boy, Browne. Yeah, The Last Goodbye. It's quite poignant, that, and I think the way you have composed this, Dennis, really emphasizes that. You know, the slats on the side of the cattle truck or sheep truck or trailer or whatever it is. I'm guessing that's what it is. It looks like that. And that stare. Either this sheep is off to be made into a pie or to a new owner or what, who knows. But I think it's very poignant and I can see your theme of being touched. Beautiful composition, beautiful use of the composition, the way things are echoed, the ears, going across like that, the flattened ears, everything going across sides of the truck. You're focused directly on those eyes and they do look like they're saying goodbye. They really do. So yeah, what more can I say? It's a simple but very effective image. Time to Leave, Penny McCall. Hey Penny, so what I'm getting looking at this is it's either a wildlife park or you're in Africa. Are you there, Penny? I don't know.
No, she's not here.
Okay. So I mean, I'm sorry, Penny, this one doesn't quite work for me. If you're watching a replay of this, and I hope you do, for me, this one isn't quite working because if something that moves, touches, and inspires you is the African wildlife, which is, you know, what we're looking at here, and elephants are remarkable, incredible, wonderful, beautiful, gentle, intelligent creatures. I think this effect, which I'm guessing it is, detracts from that. You know, the mother and calf walking away the distance, time to leave. Yeah, I'm not sure that this effect is helping with that image. Again, I think it was called the Adamski effect or something like that. I know it has become rather popular. Just me, it's okay. But yeah, I'm sorry, my friend. I think you've detracted from the thing that moves, touches, and inspires you. Up in the Hills from Carl Smith. Yeah. Who wouldn't be moved, touched, and inspired having climbed up there with a fantastic view like that? Now, I know, of course, every square inch of New Zealand is covered in this stuff. It's beautiful, isn't it? So, yeah, you're fulfilling the brief beautifully. I think your colours, exposure, the way you've handled the composition is great. The way we've got the little people in this magnificent scenery and this sort of river valley winding off into the distance, continuing the journey. You can film a butt coming, can't you? And that is cutting this road, the very bottom. I just find that so uncomfortable, cutting them off at the ankles, because the very thing which has taken them there has been cut off, which is such a shame. When shooting an image, it's like Border Patrol. Always remember, the very last thing you do is super fast, run your eye around the border, along the top, down the sides, across the bottom. Because, you know, in waiting for the moment, we move. We're human beings. We move a little tiny bit and then we cut off an important bit. And I think it makes a big difference. Watch this. When their feet are in there. I very quickly added those feet this morning, just using Photoshop's AI fill. And I don't know about you, but I think maybe I'm just anally retentive, but I just think it makes a huge difference to actually see them standing on the rocks planted, even though they're not great feet and it looks like this foot is merged into the rock. But, you know, with a quick lasso, extend picture edges, and that's what it came up with. But I think just adding those feet back in, it's so important just to look all the way around the edge. But I totally get your fulfillment of the brief. So that brings us to the end of all of your images. How are we doing for time, guys?
We've got 10 minutes of the allotted time left.
10 minutes. That's not bad, is it? I managed to keep it roughly on track. I'm just skimming back through, so you get a quick flick through. Has anyone got any questions? Because we can do a bit of Ask Me Anything if you've got some questions, or if you're interested, I could just show you, if you like, my favorite top 5, if you haven't guessed already, just some things that I've said.
Any questions?
Jane.
Any questions,
Any
anybody?
questions?
Do we want to know Mike's top 5, did you say? His favourites? Yes, we want to know what your favourites are.
Oh, you want to know my top 5, do you?
Yep.
Okay, hang on. These are going to call. So I'm glad you're on the other side of the planet in case there's somebody. Okay, these were the ones that got me. You may have been gotten by other images, and that's completely fine because we all have our own choices. I found this one to be moving, touching, and inspiring, right? Remember, this is the place that I'm coming from. Moved, touched, inspired. Create an image that moves, touches, and inspires you. This photographer was moved, touched, and inspired by this wonderful magic moment in this magical place. And I think this person, Jude Foster, captured it magically, very, very beautifully. This is, by the way, not in any particular order. This isn't like, this is my favorite. These are just my top 5, right? I can't tell you which one's my favorite. Ian Walls at the Riding for the Disabled. Yeah, as I've said already, I find it kind of moving. The thing which I'm most moved by is the expression on the girl leading the pony's face. She's obviously getting so much joy from what she's doing, and she's making a difference and putting a bit of good back into the world. Oh yeah, and of course it's a beautifully executed photograph. Sorry, you know, the exposure's right, the lens is right. You heard what I said earlier. Yep, so many things with this one, of course, work. I love the fun. I love that decisive moment. And of course, John Thornton serenading Marilyn. I just thought that was a... And the moving last goodbye. Yep, so those were my top 5 favorites. Let me stop screen sharing for a moment. With a bit of luck. Hey, there you all are again. I can see you. Hey! Hello, Christchurch. So yeah, I guess that probably brings me to the end of that. If anyone's got any questions, if there's another 5 minutes left, I'm more than happy. If anyone who wants to ask a question, fire them at me. No?
It was covered very well, says somebody.
Well, thank you. And also, I just want to say thank you because, you know, as I said before, sitting here in a room talking to myself is a very weird thing. And I have no idea. I can't see anyone's expressions. I don't know if anyone's enjoying it or whether they think I'm talking a lot of old arse water. And I had a couple of lovely emails from, I think, you guys, and I was really touched by that. And I know you gave Jane some feedback, which she forwarded on to me, and thank you very much for that. It is hugely appreciated.
You're welcome.
So I guess that probably wraps me up 5 minutes early, which is a bit of a miracle because I usually talk for England.
Well, that's where you are. So I guess on that note, let's give Mike a great big round of applause. Thank you,
And
Mike,
I'm
for
giving
coming.
you one back, honestly, I'm giving you one back because there's some superb, forgive me, in my arrogance, I didn't expect what you hit me with. That was amazing. All of them.
Oh, look, New Zealand's just like that. We're just amazing.
Yeah, obviously. I said Poms and Kiwis. We kind of hit it off.
You have to come. So on that note, we'll say good night to Mike, I guess. Andrew's nodding his head, so bye, Mike.
Bye, guys. I hope our paths cross again one day. Take care of yourselves and thank you.
Let me start again. A couple of notices. First of all, John Hawkins about the scavenger hunt for next week.
Evening, everybody. No, that's not the one. So yeah, the scavenger hunt next week. I guess there's a lot of people here who haven't done one before. We've actually haven't had one for a wee while. So we thought we better identify what it is that we want you to do. So we're organised next week. You got a wee pointy thing, or I just tell you to click to the next? Yep. So how does it work? Next, please. Well, next Wednesday, on the 16th of April, we need to go onto Visual Pursuits, our website,
posted. Is there someone here that would like to speak about that? Okay, I'll give you a quick summary. Have a look on the CPS Facebook page. There's a nice little video. It's to be held in Hokitika. The tutor will be Mike White of the CPS Club, or was, and the opening for bookings is on the 14th. But check it out on the web, on the CPS Facebook page. Okay. There, that's the field trip. Next competition closing dates. Tonight we have the PI3, which is a portrait. So you should have submitted that, or you've got a little bit of time left tonight to do it, but don't leave it till midnight. Further details of the events coming up will be on the email you've received from Diana. Okay, are there any other notices that I've missed or any other announcements? Nope. Okay, in that case, it's thanks very much for all of you who've come out tonight, and thanks for opening and closing the venue, if that was Dennis. The sound video, thank all you guys on the sound. You did an excellent job hooking that up through America. Projection and supper. So with that, it's good night. Put the chairs back and drive home safely.